Hello, everybody. Terrence Lahue here with another episode of the Intellectual Agrarian Podcast. Our guest today is Micheal Bell from Dallas Half-Acre Farm. He's an urban farmer in, you guessed it, Dallas, Texas. Today, we'll be discussing the challenges and benefits of growing vegetables in Texas, how and why Mike got involved in farming, how he started physical training, rabbits in the garden, and so much more. Don't miss this episode with Micheal Bell. Micheal Bell, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Now, before we start, I'm actually going to borrow something I learned from listening to the Tim Ferriss podcast.
Okay, it can't be bad if it's coming from Tim Ferriss.
No, of course not. So one of the things he likes to do is reach out to a mutual friend and ask for a suggestion for a question or anecdote. And so I reached out to Tom and said, hey, I'm going to be interviewing Micheal. Do you have any stories or questions you think I should ask? And you'll be shocked, but his first question was, what do you do about troubles with rabbits?
Oh, my God, I hate that guy. It's funny because you must have done that yesterday because I went over to the farm Thursday morning before I went to school. I'm a full-time teacher. And I've transplanted 120 Salanova transplants, first transplants of the fall for us because it's been so hot, and on Sunday. And they look great. I only lost like 3 or 4 to transplanting Sunday night. And I get there and they're all gone. Like literally probably 85 of my 120 are just gone.
Oh, dear goodness.
So I start cussing and screaming and ranting and raving, like anybody would. And I get to looking, and every one of them have been bitten off at the bottom. You can just tell it's a rabbit. They just, it's not insects. I mean, it's just rabbits. So I called my dad, and my dad can do anything, has done everything. And I said, what do you think I should do? What's the easiest, cost-effective way to fix this problem? He said, well, other than shooting them, and I know you're not a very good shot, I would...
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, well, I'm not, actually. I'm really not. But he just said, get you some chicken wire and, make you a cage to keep them out for a fence to keep them out. He said, make sure you fold the chicken wire down a foot and lay it across. That way they can't dig under. And I said, okay. So I spent 2 hours, and it was a long process, but next time I do it, it'll take me 20 minutes because now I know exactly how to do it, and everything. And I haven't had any more rabbits, Thursday night or last night get in there. So I think I'm good now.
Well, isn't that the way it is with so many things? If you do it,
yes.
Once you do it that first time, it's figuring out what the process is. And then, like, for example, in podcasting or even farming, the first episode was the most difficult. And once you get that rhythm and routine, then you have a better idea of what you're doing.
Yep, exactly. And I'm the poster child for that with my farm. Good God.
Can you give me a good example of that?
Everything that I do. The simple things like I have no farming background. First of all I've ever done is garden. I've had a garden since I was 5 years old. Started with my grandma all the way through high school. That's what we would do. Would be grow tomatoes and peppers during the spring, summer, and fall on her little side garden of her house. So when I decided to do this, I just watched Curtis Stone and JM Fortier on YouTube. I was like, God, I would love to make some extra money doing this. And it doesn't look that hard, I mean, farming's complicated, but it's not like rocket science.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I can do this. So prime example is the landscape fabric. I mean, you wouldn't think it'd be that hard to lay landscape fabric straight, but it is. And make it tight, and then when you burn your holes in your landscape fabric to grow in, if it's not tight, it just doesn't burn very well. And then you get different size holes, and then your transplants don't fit perfectly. And if it's not straight, you can't lay irrigation lines very well. And it's just like landscape fabric. It sounds the most simple thing in the world. No, not well. It wasn't for me anyway. Plastic on a hoop house on a low tunnel. How they make the low tunnels out of electrical conduit.
Yeah.
I made those fine. But then when I put plastic on it the first time, I didn't make it tight enough, so the wind just destroyed it, overnight.
No.
So luckily it didn't get that cold. I was excited to do it, so I did it on a night it was supposed to like 40, so I didn't lose anything, but I lost, $50 worth of plastic because it just shredded it because I didn't have it tight enough. And I didn't think it was that big of a deal. So I learned next time you better make it a lot tighter, especially, in Texas fall season when the winds pick up pretty good. So, and I could keep going. I got 100 of those, but you get the idea.
Yeah. So the other thing Tom said to ask you about was putting trays of seedlings on every windowsill in the house. How does your wife feel about that?
Oh, she hates it. She hates it. But I like to give you a little background on my farm. I started it 2 years ago on no money. Like I bought my half acre for $7,500, which was inheritance money from my grandma. Like she left me $7,500 inheritance 20 years ago. I never spent it. So I bought the land with her money, and it was just fate because the price tag was the exact same dollar amount that she left me.
Wow.
So I mean, this whole journey has been nothing but fate, in my opinion. But so I told my wife, and I didn't tell my wife I was going to buy it. I thought, you know what, this is my inheritance money. Like this is way before she came along, and so I'm not even going to ask her. So I just wrote the check, and I was done. She didn't even know I had the inheritance money, to be honest with you. So I just wrote the check, bought the land, walked in, said, honey, I bought a half acre. She looked at me. She said, what are you going to do with a half acre? I said, I'm going to farm it. Like I've showed you Curtis Stone and all those guys on YouTube. I'm going to do that. And she just rolled her eyes and said, oh my God, are you kidding me? I was like, no. I said, I'm not going to quit teaching. I'm still going to keep teaching. So anyway, every penny that I've ever made from my farm has gone back into my farm. And not one penny have I spent other than the $400 that I started with, have I put into the farm. So every penny that I've spent on my farm has come from the money on my farm. So I don't have money to go out and buy a greenhouse to propagate, Salanova with, or anything else. So I plant my Salanova seeds in 120, plug trays, and I put them up, and 2 days later they germinate. And when it's 110 degrees outside, you can't put them outside.
No.
So I put them outside for 2 or 3 hours, and then about 11 o'clock, I'll bring them in and find a windowsill and put them in. And I got trays in my bathroom. I've got trays in the windows in the living room. Anything that faces the west, I've got trays in, and it drives her nuts. But luckily, she hasn't threatened to leave me or anything. So.
Oh, good. Just tell her that you're increasing the oxygen in the house.
Yeah. I got everything. She just rolls her eyes. It's whatever, honey. So.
Sounds like a wonderful woman.
She actually is. She's actually become very patient with me about it, and I think she's beginning to see the opportunity because, my sales are picking up and I've got a lot more interest. So I'm kind of thinking she's seeing the dollar signs and letting me get away with a little bit more.
So tell us a little bit more about the farm. What year again did you start?
I started 2016. Actually, another fate. I signed the paperwork. I signed the paperwork for my farm on my birthday, April 14th of 2016.
Well, that way you never forget it.
No. I mean, it's pretty easy to remember, yeah. And then from there, I just started clearing space. It hadn't been touched in 15 years.
Oh, wow.
The guy that owned it before, it's non-residential. It's one of the few parts of Dallas, inside the city limits of Dallas, that's zoned non-residential. I have no idea why it's zoned that way. Don't really care. I'm glad it is because it made it really cheap. So it hadn't been touched. It had 10-foot Johnson grass on it. It had some trees on it. It had some knocked down trees that were piled up in the middle. So I found this little spot. It was 2,000 square feet. Took a weed eater, weed-eated it down. I bought billboard signs, laid the billboard signs on top of the place I just weed-eated. Walked away for the month of July, let all that die, decompose, and come back in the spring, come back in the fall, and planted my first, harvest. And all that was salad mix. All I grew was salad mix. Salanova, red Russian kale, Mizuna, and then when it got too cold for the Mizuna, I planted spinach and just ran it through the winter. And then as I had more time and grew the farm and cleared more space and whatever, I've gotten into tomatoes and bell peppers and zucchini, radishes and beets, and just a little bit of everything that grows well in Texas. Other than I don't do like beans and peas; they just take up too much space.
You specified grows well in Texas. Now, I'm from the northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin area. Could you give me a little bit of an idea of what the growing conditions for Texas, besides what I'd imagine, which would be hot?
They suck.
Okay.
June, July, and August is just, and it's gotten really bad the last 5 years with the heat, and every year's been worse. I don't know if it's global warming, if it's a pattern shift, but like this summer was hotter than last summer, which was hotter than last summer. This summer we had a week in the middle of July that was 108 for 7 straight days.
Wow.
And it killed everything. Like I watered for an hour a day and stuff. I mean, it didn't really die. My tomatoes didn't die, but they quit producing, they quit growing, and they're just now starting to kick back into production. They got, and now we're down into like 95. Like it's cooled off to 95. So things are starting to produce
Arctic
again. Yeah. We wear sweaters, not really. But it's just brutal during the summer. I'm thinking next summer I may not even try. I may just shut the farm down when everything dies out in July and just gear up to start back September 1st, because I just waste so much time watering and I got no production out of anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's how bad it is. Now I know guys, like there's a farm out in Arizona, Steadfast Farms. I don't know how they do it. They grow lettuce and salad mix and crazy stuff in 110 and 15 degree temperature. I don't know if it's a humidity difference because it's a dry 110 out there. When it was 108, we had a heat index of 115 and 120 because the humidity was still 60-70%.
How much area of your half acre is in cultivation?
Between 12 and 13,000. A half acre is about 20,000 square feet, and I have about 12 to 13,000 in production. And honestly, that's too much for me. Yeah, I gave away. Well, I didn't give away. I let a guy that contacted me a couple weeks ago. His name's Josh. He wants to get into the stuff that I'm doing. He said, "Hey, a guy told me you might have some extra space. I'll clear it. I'll do the work. Just can I use your space?" I said, "Sure. You know what? I got 6 25-foot beds that I'm not going to use in the fall or spring. You can just have those. Pay me $30 for water a month, and we're good to go. Help me out when I need an extra set of hands." And he was more than happy. So I'm actually going to downsize just a little bit and see if I can't get better at smaller instead of trying to get bigger, which I was told that 1,000 times in videos from Curtis and JM and, everybody that I listened to was like, start small, start small, start small. But when you have a half acre and you love to grow stuff, it's hard. It's hard to pull those reins back.
When you enjoy it, especially, it can be easy to kind of get a little carried away.
Oh yeah, and I love to grow, and I love to work. Like I feel so good right now. I've been up since 4. Went to the farm at 5:30. Worked till about 7:45, and now I'm headed home, and I feel good. Like I love working. I would work 12 hours a day on my farm if I could.
And that is the attitude every farmer needs to have.
Oh, if you don't love it, then don't do it, because the work is hard. Until you get it down to a scientific process or turn your farm into a machine, you don't make a lot of money. So you have to love it. And I tell you, I wake up, like I was so excited this morning to get up and get to the farm. Like my alarm didn't even go off. I woke up 15 minutes before my alarm went off, just so I was just excited to go and work, and because the fall's coming on and I can see, because I really haven't got to grow anything in 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to grow again and make some money, and I miss delivering my stuff to my customers because I know how excited they get. So I just miss it.
Now, I'm curious, just because it made me think of it, did that hurricane last year affect you at all?
No.
Okay.
No, we didn't get any. Unfortunately, this sounds really bad, but anytime there's a hurricane in the Gulf, people in Dallas get excited. Because we really do, because we usually get some residual rain out of it in 3 or 4 days of cooler weather. But the hurricane that hit Houston that caused all the flooding, it never moved. Like, everybody thought the hurricane was so bad. It wasn't the hurricane that was so bad. It was the fact that it never moved.
Uh-huh.
It hit land shore, and then it just stayed there and rotated. So it just rotated, sucked moisture out of the air over the Gulf, and then would spin around and dump it on Houston and Corpus. And, like, it just sucked. Usually that stuff comes straight up into Dallas, or it goes into, Louisiana and Arkansas and that way. We didn't get a drop. We didn't even get any cooler weather. If anything, it was worse because we got the humidity from it.
Oh, so all the bad part and none of the benefit.
Yeah, that's usually the story of life in Dallas.
Water is obviously one of the big challenges to farming in Texas. I heard from your interview with Tom on Small Scale Life that you get your water from the church nearby. Is that true?
Yep.
How did that come about?
So, as I said when we first started, my farm land is zoned non-residential. The church was there before they zoned it non-residential, so of course they have running water and everything. Well, I don't have running water. I can't get running water from the city of Dallas because it's zoned non-residential. So at the time, I thought, I'll make it work. Well, when I bought the land, I was like, I'll make it work. I'll haul water. I'll figure something out. Well, luckily, about 6 months after I started farming that fall, there's an older preacher. The church is small. It maybe have 150 members in it. There's a 70-year-old, skinny, nice-looking black guy next door working on an old shed. And, I could see he was struggling with him. And I'm 39 years old. I'm in pretty good shape. So I was like, hey, bud, you need some help? So I went over and introduced myself, and I helped him for about an hour on his shed. And I just happened to look at the wall that faces my farm. It's about 120 feet from my fence line. And there was a spigot in the wall, a water spigot. And I looked at him, I was like, hey, bud, what would you say if I paid your water bill every month if I could use that water spigot right there? I'll give you $100 cash right now as earnest money so you don't think I'm trying to screw anybody over or anything. He looked at me and said, well, I don't think that's a problem. You seem like a good guy, and if you're willing to pay me 3 months in advance, then yeah, that's fine. I said, your water bill's $35 a month? He said, $37.09. It has been for 20 years. Or, it hasn't gone, just the price of regular increase. But he goes, we never go over the minimum amount. So ours is, we don't do irrigation or anything to water our yard or anything. So yeah, it's been $37. So I got to thinking, I was like, you know what? This is perfect because those guys flush the toilets on Wednesdays and Sundays, maybe wash their hands a little bit. They don't use hardly any of the water. So I got on the Dallas County website, City of Dallas website. They're allotted 5,000 gallons of water a month before they hit their minimum usage. So I went over in July, which I won't do next year because it's pointless. And I think my water bill was $50.
Wow.
Yeah, I pay $37 a month for water. It's a little bit of a pain walking back and forth to the church and hooking up the water hose and all of that, but I'm not going to complain.
No, and that's those type of opportunities that if you didn't go over to help him, you would have never known. You still would have been hauling water.
Exactly, and we've helped each other out. One night I left the farm about 11 o'clock, and I was going, it's my farm's down a dirt road, and so I was going up dirt road, and there was all this water in the dirt road. I got out of the car and walked up to see where all the water was coming from, and the water was pouring out of a water sprinkler. And apparently the mower had hit the water sprinkler and not realized that the water had started pouring out of it. So, there's tons of water coming out of the sprinkler head. So I called the preacher, and he goes, oh, Mike, I'm in Arkansas. Is there any way you can go shut off the valve for me? So I said, yeah, sure. So I went and shut off the valve to his sprinkler system and everything that he never uses. I don't even know why it was on. The next day, he called me and he goes, hey, thank you so much. You just probably saved me thousands of dollars because I won't be in town until Friday. And this was on a Monday.
Oh, wow.
So no one would have known that his sprinkler head was broke.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just being neighborly. You get to know your neighbors and you help them out and they help you out, and it all kind of works out in the end.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the, I'll say, more unique opportunities an urban farmer has over the classical rural one, because a rural farmer, his neighbors may not be within miles of him.
Yep.
Which means while he does have relationships, it just isn't the kind where, oh, I drove on my way home and I saw that your sprinkler was broken. Can I help you fix it?
Yep. Yeah. No, extra set of eyes help. I'm not in the best part of Dallas either. So, we keep an eye on each other's stuff. And now that I'm there, I've seen a lot, or he said he's seen a lot less traffic going up and down that dirt road. It doesn't really lead anywhere. So I'm sure there was some stuff going on down that dirt road that shouldn't have been going on. But now that I'm there, all the time, it seems like he said there's a lot less traffic, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah. Now, I've also heard that a good portion of your market are vegans. How did that come about?
In short, Instagram, to be honest with you. I'm a huge fan and follower of Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary V, I don't know if you know who that is.
I am somewhat familiar with him.
Well, you should become very familiar with him because he will change your life. So, he's one of the main reasons why I started farming, but that's a whole other story. So one of Gary V is a social media marketer. Like, he owns the largest social media marketing company in the country. He does Fortune 500 companies for Instagram ads, Facebook ads, that kind of thing, not television or anything like that. And he goes all over the world giving speeches, talking about how you should be advertising on Instagram and Facebook and producing content on Instagram, showing people what you do and how you do it, and really get your face out there, because people relate more with small businesses that they see and know, like from Instagram, which is true. I'm the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, get involved with the hashtags. So I was like, okay, I can figure this out. So I was scrolling through something one night, laying in bed, and I saw the hashtag Dallas Vegan. And I clicked on it. And when you click on a hashtag on Instagram, it shows you how many posts are with that hashtag. And there's like 400,000 posts of Dallas Vegan. It's like, holy crap, there's that many vegans in Dallas? So for like 3 hours, I didn't go to bed till 2 that night. I was so excited. I hit the jackpot, and I just started scrolling. I was like, God, these people are so passionate about their food. Like, if you use the hashtag Dallas Vegan, all you do is post vegan pictures of your food. That's it. All you do is post pictures of your food. So I started following these people, and they would follow me back. And for some reason, I just did it one time. DM'd them, and I said, hey, thanks for the follow. And they DM'd me right back, and they said, hey, thank you. I love your page. I love your stuff, your pictures. How do I buy from you? And a light bulb just went off. I was like, this is it. Like, I don't have to do anything but lay in bed and click hashtag Dallas Vegan and start following these people. They follow me back. I send them a DM, and 90% of the time I DM, hey, thanks for the follow. I really appreciate it. They DM me back something like, where's your farm? I would love to buy local. How do I buy from you? Something like that. And it just took off. 80% of my customers are vegans, and they're so passionate about it. Like, I don't know anyone that's any more passionate about their lifestyle than vegans.
Mm-hmm.
They want to tell the world.
I was just reading Captivate by Vanessa Van Edwards, and in it talks about basically just how to work with people. And one of the chapters was on conversation, and what are the things that are like people's hot buttons, trigger things for things that they care about. And shockingly, and this was like all the way on the bottom of like the top 10 things is literature, which made me sad because I love to talk about books. And like number 3 behind metal and band was vegan.
I completely believe it. I'm surprised it wasn't number 1, to be honest with you.
I know more vegans than metalheads, so that I guess does surprise me too. But yeah, I mean, people are passionate about because it is such a lifestyle.
Well, they think and I don't mean this sounds bad. They think they're going to change the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they think going vegan is a step toward changing the world. And I'm not saying it's not,
mm-hmm.
but I think that's why they have so much passion about it, is because they think being vegan just isn't about eating plants. it's about saving animals. They think it's about saving the climate and global warming. And they think if everyone was vegan, that global warming would cease to exist. So I think that's why they're so passionate about it. It's just not what they eat. It's what they're trying to accomplish with it.
They're actively making a difference with every choice. And I have to say, I think that's something that most of us make a mistake on, is not many of us look at how we live that way. Each decision we make does affect the world around us in even a tiny way.
Yep. Completely agree. And that's one reason why, like, I don't do a lot of money on my farm right now, but I do podcasts and I talk to people. I will talk to anybody that likes to garden and try to convince them to do what I'm doing, because small scale farming, like what I'm doing, honestly, I think can change the agricultural community. If there's enough of us. There's just not enough of us out there. Like I said when we talked right before we started, there's only 5 farms, and really 5 farms in the Dallas County area, and I'm the least successful one of the 5 right now, but I'm also the only one that's doing really any talking. There's another guy that does a lot of podcasts and stuff, but they just want to get up and farm and make their money and love what they do, and that's it. I'm like, guys, we got to get out there, because if Curtis Stone wouldn't have made all his YouTube videos, I never would have known about it. Like, I never would have found it. I never would have known this was even a possibility to make money on such a small piece of land, growing 9 rows of carrots in a 30-inch bed, as opposed to doing 1 row of carrots and waiting 2 feet and doing another. Like, people just don't know that. So when I tell people that, they're like, oh, okay, I see. And then you can just see their mind working. Wait a minute, if I can grow 9 rows of carrots in a 30-inch space, I can sell some of those and make money.
Yeah.
And so I guess I'm the same way as a vegan is. I think I can change the world by doing podcasts and getting information out there and, trying to tell people, and the best thing about this stuff, Terrence, is the market, the demand for it is insane. Like, I had to quit, and honestly, the business side of farming is what I found I love the most, but I had to quit doing the hashtag and trying to get more people because I can't supply them.
Good problem to have.
Oh, it's great. It's a great problem. I did a seminar at Dallas Veggie Fest here last year, and I had about 20 people show up, explain what I did, told them exactly how to do it, and I was really encouraging them, like, guys, if you love to garden, just scale it up a little bit, try these methods, and sell some stuff. And I promise you, you'll really find out that you can make some money doing this, and you already love doing it, so why not make money? And a lady at the end came up and told me, I'm going to try it, but I have a question. Are you afraid that I'm going to take your customers? And I laughed, and I didn't even really put the math. Like, I just said it without thinking. I said, honey, I need 100 customers. Actually, not even 100. I need 50 customers a week to buy from me. If I sell 50 customers a week, a $20 box, I make enough money to support myself. I need 50 people, honey. There's 3 million people in Dallas area. I'm not worried if you take 5 of my customers, because I can go get 10 more tonight laying in my bed on Instagram. So no, I don't you don't understand the demand. People hate buying food from Walmart.
Amen.
They just don't think they have an option, nor do they know how good a vine ripened tomato is compared to what you buy in the store. They just don't know, because they've never had one. People in Dallas around me have never eaten a vine ripened tomato, and I can give them some of mine, and they think it's candy.
It's amazing how good food tastes when it tastes the way it's supposed to.
Exactly. And what's scary is, not scary, but scares me. So much of the produce, like tomatoes, that's being grown and sold to Kroger and whatever, that's grown hydroponically. And I don't have anything against hydroponics, but there's a definite taste difference between hydroponically and in the soil with the minerals and everything, that kids honestly don't know how good a tomato is because they've never tasted a real tomato. And I just want people to realize, if you want to garden and you want to make money, the money is there to be it's like taking candy from a baby, as though an analogy goes. And two, once you get the systems down and you figure it out, it's not hard work. You just have to figure out your systems for your exact space. Like my systems for my farm is completely different from the other 4 systems in Dallas that has a small farm. Completely different, but they work for me. You just have to figure out what works for you in your backyard, what you like to grow, and grow stuff that you like to grow. You don't grow stuff because you think you're going to make the most amount of money.
You should be eating your own food too, so you kind of want to raise something you're willing to eat.
Yeah, like zucchini, that's a perfect statement, because it's stupid for me to grow zucchini because the plants get so big,
Mm-hmm.
and I only make like $1.50 a pound on the zucchini, or about that, something like that. And they take up so much space. But me and my wife love zucchini. Like we cook it 5 different ways. We love eating it. So I'm going to grow it. People, I got a couple of guys like, why are you growing zucchini? That bed right there of zucchini could make you $1,000 in lettuce, and it's going to make you $100 in zucchini. Well, because I like to eat zucchini.
Yeah. I mean, there is an economics to it, but at the end of the day, you're doing it because you enjoy it more than anything else.
Yep, exactly.
So my next question was actually, how do you market your farm? And I think we kind of answered that. And I think it's really cool that you do it using social media. I'm curious. So you said that Gary Vee was a really big part of how you started the farm. Could you go in a little bit more in depth on that?
He's the reason why I started my farm. I would say Curtis Stone is the how I started my farm, because I use everything that he's told me to do. Gary Vee was the why. I've been teaching 15 years, and I got into teaching when I got done playing college basketball to coach. Like, I wanted to be the next John Wooden and win 20 state championships in high school basketball. I was a basketball player. And after 5 years of it, I said, this is not what I want to do. So I got into elementary PE because the hours were a lot better. I didn't have practice before and after school and tournaments on the weekend. So I did, elementary PE, and I've been doing it for 10 years, and I'm bored to death. Like, I'm just bored with it. There's only so many times I can tie a shoe or button a pair of pants because the kindergartners can't button pants, or, I'm just tired of it. And I've been not on a quest, but really trying to figure things out, what I want to do. And I heard Gary Vee do a seminar, and it's called, if anybody out there that wants to look up Gary Vee, Smurf It Up, like the blue Smurfs.
And we'll put it in the show notes.
Smurf It Up. And that video changed my life, because he said, in today's era, you can do anything you want to do and make $50,000 a year at it if you're good at it. He goes, if you like the Smurfs, start a Smurf podcast, start a Smurf blog, do everything, be the Smurf guy for the world. And he goes, I promise you can make $50,000. So I got to thinking about it. That's how I found Curtis. And, to this day, I still listen to, Gary talk. Half of it's motivational. Half of it is, tactics that you can do to grow your business. And his big thing is patience. And honestly, if I didn't hear him talk about patience, I probably would have quit by now, because it's just been like one failure after another. But he says all the time, eat crap for 5 years. If you just stick with anything for 5 years and you put your heart and soul in it and you love it, it's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep at it. And that's what I've done. And I'm at 2.5, and I finally kind of figured things out, what fits best for me and my situation. And it's starting to roll. So I hope one day I get to shake his hand and say thank you, because I don't know what I'd be doing right now if I wouldn't have found his stuff and he hadn't motivated me to try what I love to do, and that was garden. So I just scaled it up and turned it into a little farm.
That 5 years is a good time frame. I mean, how rare is it for any of us to stick to something for 5 years these days? Some marriages don't make it that long anymore.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's, social media is great, but I also think in the cell phone and everything, but it's taught us instant gratification.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so little patience in the world today. I mean, like, if your cell phone's running a millisecond slow trying to pull up a website, you get pissed. Like, why is my cell phone so slow? Where if we step back, we had to go to the library, get dial-up internet, look at it. Like, I mean, it's just ridiculous how fast everything is today. And now we take it for granted. So patience is, I think, a huge thing right now if you can just wrap your mind around it.
Really, we don't want to wait for anything anymore. We are impatient. And the fact is, that's why it's so important to look at it as a long-term commitment. And farming is nothing if not a long-term plan. It isn't a short-term solution.
And it changes all the time. I call it pivot. Change my business plan. I call it pivoting because it doesn't sound quite as flaky. But
I like that.
Like, I pivot my business plan 5 times a day sometimes because I get so frustrated. Like the other night when I had the rabbit issue, it's like, you know what? Screw lettuce. I'm just growing tomatoes. They don't eat tomatoes. I'm just gonna grow tomatoes. So, another big thing that Gary will teach you is macro patience, micro speed. So like every day you go 100 miles an hour to get stuff done, but macro, I've got 5 years to get this done. And that really resolutes with me. Like every day I think about that. Work your butt off as much as you can today, but don't get impatient on the big picture. The big picture is how much money am I going to be making in 5 years, and how good of a machine is this farm going to be in 5 years?
Now, shifting gears here, because I do want to touch on this before we wrap up, but you talked about playing basketball, being a coach. You're also a physical trainer. How did you get into the bodybuilding and physical training?
So I played 4 years of basketball in college. I was a 5th-year senior, which you're not allowed to play 5 years. So my 5th year, I had nothing to do. Like I didn't have practice. I didn't have off-season workouts. I had like 2 hours a day that for the first time in 20 years, I didn't have anything to do. And my body hurt from playing basketball. I was just not really burned out on it, but I just didn't want to go play for fun. So a roommate of mine at the time said, hey, go work out with me. And I was 175 pounds at the time. I was 6 foot, 175. And I was like, okay, I ain't got nothing else to do. And 6 months later, I'd put on about 10 pounds. Pete friends were like, yeah, you're looking a lot better, Bill. You actually look like you got some muscle, blah, blah, blah. So anytime you get compliments, whether you're trying to lose weight or gain weight, it motivates you.
Oh, yes.
So I graduated college. I'd put on about 15 pounds total, moved to Dallas, and then went to the gym with what at the time was my fiance, and saw this guy, and he was a bodybuilder. Nobody famous or anything, but he had that look, and I was like, God, I want to look like that. And my wife just started laughing. She's like, honey, that guy's huge. So I was like, okay. So I put in the back of my mind, started reading and looking and doing some research. And of course the internet, in 2002 was beginning to really come about with message boards and forums and stuff, and just got involved in it. And I actually, a year later, I went up to that guy and said, hey, I want to compete. Not now. I know I'm not big enough, but I want to compete. He goes, I've seen you train. You train hard. Meet me here tomorrow night at the same time, and you can train with me. And after that workout with him, everything just went to a whole new level. Intensity of my training. He started teaching me about food and nutrition and supplements and everything, and just caught the bug. It's like anything that you become passionate about, you just catch the bug, and whether it's farming or gardening or, whatever it is. And I caught the bug and really transformed my body. I mean, if you take a picture of me at 22 and now a picture of me at 39, there's about 100 pounds difference.
Wow.
In us now. And it's in the right spots. I don't walk around like with a shredded 6-pack or anything, but I'm not fat. I got broad shoulders. It's all in the right places. I've learned a lot. I learned a lot what not to do. So I just one day had a guy come up and say, hey, do you train people? I said, yes, I do. And I'd never had before, but I knew I could. And it just kind of evolved into training people. I have a 2.5-car garage that my wife, when me and my wife got married, I'd already had the house and already had my gym set up inside the garage of really good quality equipment. And I said, look, you're not getting in the garage, park your car in the driveway. I make too much money. Training out of here, I enjoy it. She said, no, that's fine. So I still train about 15 hours a week in my garage, after school, Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, 2 or 3 hours, and then a couple hours on Sunday. Just train random people. Some people, compete that I train. Some people just want to lose 20 pounds. I have a couple guys wanting to gain 20 pounds. So it's just a nice little niche business that I really love to do, and it brings in a little bit of extra money, and, that's about it.
Do you have any quick tips for anyone that's out there thinking, goodness, I really want to gain 20 pounds, or my goodness, I really need to lose 50?
Quick tips. Well, the first thing is you're not going to do it in any short amount of time if you're going to do it the right way. Yes, you can take steroids and gain 20 pounds. Yes, you can take some really strong drugs to help you lose 50 pounds. But if you do anything quick, the reverse is going to happen eventually. Like, you have to build a foundation for what got you there. So if you want to lose 50 pounds, start tomorrow, walk 2 miles. The next day, either walk a little bit further or walk a little bit faster. You do not have to run. People always ask me, what's the best cardio? And I say, there is no best cardio. It's whatever gets your heart rate up. Your heart is the key to burning calories. If your heart rate's beating faster than it does sitting in a recliner, then you're burning calories and you're doing a good thing. And they just look at me kind of funny. And I said, have you ever heard the phrase that sex is the best exercise? And they start laughing. And I was like, it's kind of true, because your heart rate's up.
Yeah.
Like, I promise you, all that matters is your heart rate. If your heart rate is up, you're burning calories. So you don't have to go run 2 miles. You can go walk to the stop sign, then jog to the next stop sign, and then walk back and forth. It doesn't matter. And then, of course, food. Don't eat crap. If you got a real bad sweet tooth, eat grapes. If you got a real bad sweet tooth, eat watermelon. Like, eat your fruits to divert, to keep away the candy. I promise you that helps, because I have a sweet tooth. Like, God, I have a sweet tooth. So, but I've learned to eat fruits, and now I don't have to have candy. If I have my grapes on hand, or watermelon, or peaches or something, I'm perfectly happy. Gaining weight is going to be more about the food. You have to increase your food. And while I'm thinking about it, if anybody wants to hit me up and ask me questions on any of this fitness stuff, my contact, I'm sure, will be in the show notes. I'm not going to charge you or anything like that. Hit me up. I'll help you. I don't mind. I got time. I sit in a gym all day with 5-year-olds playing dodgeball. So, like, I can reply to an email or a text, so I can help you. But just don't expect, nothing happens overnight. Like, I've been training 15 years and I've gained about 100 pounds. That's 15 pounds a year. That's a little more than a pound a month. So if you can gain a pound a month, you're doing pretty well. If you can lose 2 pounds, more than 2 pounds a week, to lose is probably not the best thing. Like, when I help clients lose weight, I tell them 2 pounds a week, and they just look at me like, God, that's not very much. But if you do it for 2 months, you've lost 15, 20 pounds.
Mm-hmm. So it's a lot like what we were talking about with farming and Gary Vee. It's macro patience, micro speed.
Yep, exactly. It's exactly. Do everything during the day 100 miles an hour. Do it right. But at night, close your eyes and think about you. I tell people 3 months. Not fitness-wise, don't think about, I don't even know what tomorrow is. Don't think about tomorrow's date. Think about, Thanksgiving. Like, how am I going to look when I go to Thanksgiving dinner with family that I haven't seen in 3 months?
I'm writing this down so we can put it in the show notes, because I think that that's a really good way of looking at it. Tomorrow is an illusion, but 3 months from now, you've got a holiday event, and you're going to see someone that you'd rather look better for.
Yep, exactly. And there's balance. Like, balance is another big key. Like, it's okay. You won't gain fat from 1 meal a week. So if you did really good all week, Saturday night, go eat. Like, enjoy your meal on Saturday night. It'll actually probably do you some good with your metabolism. Because when you don't eat crap, like sugars and fried and all that crap, for 6 or 7 days, then you go do it one night. I always tell my clients on Saturday night, take your wife out to eat, and go eat crap, for one meal. Well, after that one meal, you go home, you go to bed, you wake up the next day, you're going to look better. Surprisingly, you will look better, and you're going to be hungry you can't imagine how hungry you're going to be, because your body goes into crack mode. I call it crack mode. Like it hasn't had sugar for 6.5 days, and now you're going to go eat, Ben and Jerry's ice cream. Your body's not going to store that. Your metabolism's going to go crazy. You're going to burn it all off plus more. And Sunday morning, you're going to wake up and you're going to want to just eat everything because you're going to be hungry, which is a good thing. That means your metabolism's going. Mm-hmm. But just go right back to your normal diet, have your 3 scrambled eggs, and then have your chicken and broccoli for lunch. And then the next Saturday night, do it all over again.
Well, thank you so much, Micheal, for all of these great practicals. Where can people go to learn more about you and your farm?
I have an Instagram page, Dallas Half-Acre Farm. Actually has an S on it, Farms, Dallas Half-Acre Farms. And then if anybody wants to email me, it's mbell971@yahoo.com. I'll be more than glad to answer any questions, whether it's farm, garden, fitness related, whatever. I feel so grateful to like Curtis and JM and Gary V and all these people that put out all this information for free for us to use, and it's changed my life. So I feel like I should do the same thing for other people out there. And I've had some people that actually took it and is doing better than I'm doing now, which is kind of frustrating. But it's very rewarding to get an email that says, hey, thanks to your guidance to get started, I'm now making $3,000 a month selling salad mix, in Austin. I have a guy in Austin that's doing really well. I have a guy in Alabama that's doing really well. And I just shared what worked for me and what helped me. And, it's very gratifying. You can't put a price tag on it, so I don't mind doing it.
Well, thanks again so much for being on the show. All of that information will be linked in the show notes.
Awesome, Bub. Well, thanks for your time, Terrence. I enjoyed it. We need to do it again.
After the interview, I actually sat down and watched the new Peter Rabbit movie, and obviously much of it is horse hockey, but the links to which a farmer will go to keep rabbits out of the garden, surprisingly accurate. Be sure to check out Micheal's farm on Instagram. That will be linked in the show notes. Big thanks again to Micheal for being on the show, and thanks to Tom Domers from the Small Scale Life podcast for suggesting those questions at the beginning. If you've enjoyed the show, please be sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or whatever your podcast player choice is. If you need some tips on how to do that, check out our How to Leave a Review article page that's linked in the show notes. Thanks again for listening. Be sure to subscribe for more farm fun. This has been Terrence Lehue and the Intellectual Agrarian Podcast, reminding you to keep farming the dream.